Hi.
Hello.
Joe.
M.
And we are coming. We're talking about this. Our channel is still saying yes
to us.
So, our last couple of videos we talked about how we met and
started building the foundation that became our relationship. We kind of went into this video trying to see where we would go, see what the natural flow of our conversation would be.
What we were talking about? We were talking about
everything.
Well, where do you want to start?
We hadn't. Do you want to involve our families and our?
I guess we could. Yeah, we could. Why don't you go ahead and talk about your family since we were talking? We ended the last video talking about our families.
I am an only child, and my parents divorced when I was 8. My dad left the picture completely when I was 12 to 14 years old. That window of time, he departed. I did not contact my dad again until I was 28, 29.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
We were married, living in Columbus. He missed the wedding. Was not invited because my mother was throwing enough of a hissy about everything else. I did not need that hissy fit.
Yeah.
My mom was really complex. We had a very weird relationship at a time when I would have walked away from her because I'd already lost one parent and I didn't think it was good to lose both parents. But I shouldn't have let my mom do everything she did from the time I was like 26 on. Like, if you ever hear me say I should have pierced my tongue, that's me saying I should have ripped my mom off long ago.
Myself, unless you're done. You done?
Oh,
okay. Well, myself, I have 2 parents who are still alive, so I won't mention their names. I have a younger brother and a younger sister. They're all 3 years apart. I, being the oldest, I guess I was the favorite son for my father. That's how she would explain it. And my father was not very kind to my siblings. He had names for them, and it's something I don't necessarily want to get into.
Okay, then don't.
Well, I'm not. I was going to move on. But anyway,
I think...
If you have prompt me, go ahead and prompt me for questions.
I don't know if I have a prompt. I think it's more like our families were like a layer of characters in our relationship for a very long time. And then we lived 2 hours away from them most of our relationship.
Yeah.
On purpose.
Yeah, that was very much so.
And then you got the job in St. Louis. I went no contact with my family in 2013. We're in 2025.
And I pretty much eliminated most of my family as soon as I went to college.
Yeah, you never focused on building stuff with them.
No, when I started college in, I don't know, was it 92, 93?
93 or 94.
That's the last time I actually talked to him. That was actually no, it was not that I didn't talk to him. It was I didn't participate anymore. First of all, I moved away on purpose to get away from the dysfunction. If that makes sense. And so I could start, so I wouldn't have all this, the noise and the dysfunction just, going around me and distracting me from what I wanted to do with my life. So I moved down to Southeast Ohio, and it was after even after college, after we moved back to the Cleveland, Akron area.
We were there for 2 years. We still weren't very tight. Like, I don't know about your relationship with your family.
Hopefully it's better.
Yeah, we hope your relationships with your family are much better than what we came from. The difference for me was when I had you, I knew I wanted to build with you. And when we moved back, it was like
they complicated it.
Yeah, they added layers of stress and fights and
obligations that weren't necessarily needed.
And yeah, all of that was like a stress that because
I understand.
I'm trying to think of the right words. I'm sorry.
Well, it wasn't my therapist. Like my family, all their needs are met. All their needs have been met in this one location, and I never wanted that. I've always there's the world is bigger than just this place that I grew up in, and most of my family is still in that place. In fact, they are still in that place.
Quite literally.
And it's just I couldn't do it. And was it right before? Before college? I went to Navy boot camp. So I had actually, I'd been in a different world. I'd been in a society that was more rigid,
where it was the group idea instead of the individual.
Yeah. But here's the thing: I had the opportunity to go from active duty boot camp to the reserves, and while I was in the reserves, I got to see the world, and so my needs were not met by this little group or the county which I grew up in. The world was much bigger, and I guess from that, I just couldn't go back. And what is it? My needs were different, and their needs were like, oh, it's right there. I can take care of it. But
you have a wanderlust.
A wanderlust?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I'm not sure exactly what that means.
You like to wander.
Oh.
You like to see different places and do different things.
Well, that's the thing. It was, I guess, yeah, because while I was in the reserves, I got to go all over the world, and I got to see different, new and interesting people. And yeah. So when we graduated, we came back, and I just couldn't. My family was fracturing and boring. I'm not gonna say boring, but there was no. I don't know what to say about that. I don't know how to describe it.
The problem for me was when we moved back from college, my mom expected me to be the kid she sent away at 18.
Yeah.
And when I moved home at 25 with you in tow, I was not. And I used to try to explain to my mom. My mom always wanted to be the most important person in my life. The most. It didn't matter if I had a husband, if I had children, anything. She wanted to be number one in my life. I couldn't have that relationship with my mother at past 17, 18 years old. I needed more from others. I needed a connection to somebody romantically because raised in the church the way I was told my sexual education, I'm going to make it real simple. Don't have sex till you're married. That was what my mother told me. I was like, all right, great. No problem. And I remember I wanted this for so long, and there are no words to describe this connection, this unity with you. And I was working towards that, and she got really pissed that there was somebody in her spot. Or her spot.
Well, it could be that I replaced her. That's
how she felt.
That's the only thing I can think of.
Oh, she hated you up until my diagnosis.
Nice. Nice.
She did. And then after my diagnosis came in and she knew what you were living with,
Nice.
she goes, oh, he must be the best human on the planet. And all of a sudden, the sun rose and set on you with my mother.
Oh.
You remember that? That shift?
Not necessarily the shift itself, but I was like, it got weird after that.
It did. It got very weird.
It got weird. I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah, please.
But like, unlike her family, like my parents were married until I was like 17, 18.
Mm. They were divorcing as we were getting married, as we were engaged.
So it was like 20s. But the thing was that my parents were super dysfunctional way before that. And that was why I left. That's one of the reasons why I left, because I knew they were dysfunctional and I had to get away from that. So that's why I went 2.5 hours away to a new world, a new county or a new something.
Oh, Hawking was about 3.5, 4 hours from Akron.
Right.
Because when we went to OU, it would take us 5 hours to get home. One way.
It's okay. It wasn't a burden.
No.
It wasn't a burden.
The travel was, but...
Yeah, but the thing was I wasn't... There was nothing left for me in my family. Even when now I'm, an hour away?
Not even 30 minutes. We moved home a year ago.
Yeah. And I'm like 30 minutes from where I grew up. And I have no urge to go there. There's nothing there for me. In the beginning, when we first moved back, I did involve my family. But I put out stuff and that was it. And then there's nothing. I'm like, here I'm at, like, come. And it was like gone. There was no response.
We moved back to Ohio from Missouri in August of last year. And everyone's like, oh, you've got the biggest house, you can host the holidays. And I was like, well, that's fine.
Yeah, I got a text about that the other day.
Oh.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Not this year. Sorry, folks. I'm not hosting you this year.
Nope, sorry.
Because I hosted Thanksgiving, and there was drama with my sister-in-law and her soon-to-be ex-husband.
Yes, we can talk about that at some point if you guys are interested.
He's not that interesting, I promise.
Yeah, but it's drama.
It's piping hot tea, but yes.
Okay.
But I did a huge Thanksgiving meal, and we had leftovers for eons.
Yeah.
And then I did it all again a month later for Christmas. And both times, the only person who stayed longer than 2 hours was my sister-in-law and my nephew.
Yeah. My mom never really... She comes in and says hello, and she's out of here.
Very hands-off. Always has been.
My father's... How should I say?
He's a clinger.
He's a clinger. He clings on to stuff. Yeah, I guess it would be it. Yeah. So, he's a clinger. That's interesting. Never heard that word before.
Oh, at least he's not Maxwell Klinger in a dress.
It'd probably be better if he was.
We'd all be happier if he was.
Yeah.
I just have this image of your dad in a dress with that yellow dress with the white ruffles of Klinger.
That's what I had too when you said Klinger. It went into that. It went to there first. So, but yeah, those are some of the things that we had to deal with even before, like when we started to have a relationship, let alone be having marriage and kids after that.
I remember our first Christmas. You came to my family's big Christmas Eve thing.
Some octopus. Was it calamari?
Calamari puretro is how they pronounce octopus in Italian.
That was the coolest thing. It's the first time I ever had octopus.
But my grandma, the next day when I was seeing my family for Christmas, they're like, "Where's your boyfriend?" I'm like, well, "He has a family." I'm like, "He's with them." And I remember calling you. I'm like, "What the hell's going on? I'm bored." You're like, "Yeah, me too." And I'm like, "We should have done something else."
Yeah. Well, that was the first time this was the first time we were like, we're done.
Yeah.
We're done with them. We got to move on.
Yeah. One thing I think, I know everyone wants to have a huge family unit. When things get between you and your marriage and you know that it doesn't serve you and it doesn't serve your relationship, and if you put it in front of your relationship's not going to survive.
The other thing is how many people you want in your marriage.
Yeah, because my mom would have happily had a throuple with us.
Yeah. Let's just leave it at that. I got an icky feeling after that one. But
I think we all feel icky and need a shower.
But the thing is that if you're trying to work on your marriage like we had basically had to throw those people out. We had to, and I can't, like, some of my coworkers, even the people that are married are still, like, they live across the street or down the street from their parents. And, like, how can you, I don't understand how they can be a partnership then you have all these outside, unless their parents were not like our parents.
They're not.
So that must be what it is then.
Well, I think the thing was, for me, my mom wanted and assumed she'd always be part of my life, no matter what she did. And that's
because how the rest of the family was.
Right, but that's not how she wanted me to treat my dad. She wanted me to write my dad out. She wanted me to say he was no good. She wanted all that, so she had my sole attention. And when I started writing her out for the same reasons I wrote my dad out,
yeah, the whole world changed.
She got pissed.
Yeah.
Whole world, and I will simultaneously say the best decisions I ever made was picking you.
Thank you.
And then picking myself years later when it was time to stand up and be mama bear to our children and protect our children from my mother's abuse. The day I stood up.
What that popped something in my head is, like, some people will think, like, the choices we made, like moving 2 hours away, that we ran away from our family issues, our responsibilities. Well, it was kind of like that. We had to.
Well, it's not only that,
because if you don't, at least I think it's, if you don't get away from those outside influences and the demands of other people, this wouldn't work.
Yeah, like, my phone's here, but it doesn't ring unless it's one of my kids and they're both home. So it's,
yeah, phones. That's one thing I've noticed a lot of my coworkers who are in their mid-30s, is their phone's always ringing, and I can see that. I can see that being an issue for younger couples, for people that are just getting married, because a lot of people still have those friend groups, and I know in those friend groups were, I guess they were the friendships that they had, but when you get married, you kind of have to put those friend groups to the side. And we're going to get visited by Harlow again, our great cat.
oh, nope, she went down.
She might pop up behind me here in a minute.
There's that, but it's not that you don't have friends, it's just you don't give friends priority spots.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. Yeah, you're right. Yeah. Well, like my brother, who's, I don't understand, but he chose those friend groups, and he still likes those friend groups. there's no way I could have stayed the friends that I had because my friends were destructive. They were self-destructive for the most part, except for R. He actually was self-destructive, then found somebody that I guess straightened him out.
No, he found somebody worth dealing with the bullshit with.
Oh.
He was happy.
Yeah, I know. I think they're still married, if I'm not mistaken.
I think they are.
So.
And I remember telling his partner that the night of our wedding. I said, I've never seen him this happy. I told her that. I said, I'm so happy to see him like this.
I haven't called him in a while.
It was refreshing to see him have that after all the partying he did.
Good.
For me, I have friends and I do things with them, but like I'll text people, but I text you too. Like if I'm looking for friendship and connection on my phone, I first reach to you and then I reach to my friends, and by the time I've reached out to a couple people, you've already responded.
Oh, cool. Cool.
But it's priorities, it's choices.
See, I really don't have friends per se. I don't have that group of friends. I don't have a Discord or anything else. Which is right now is kind of because the situation that we're in right now is. I don't know if I still would want friends, but I don't have them per se. I have coworkers, and all my coworkers are in the same spot that I'm in right now. So,
There's that, and I think the difference is when I make friends, I tag you along with me. You're very introverted. That is true. You're very introverted in a lot of ways. And then I'll be like, hey, you want to meet my husband? And most people are like, yeah, you can bring your husband. And they get to know us and they realize as a unit, we're pretty good.
So I guess my friends would be your friends.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm okay with that. I don't need my own personal friends because the friends I did have, they were not good. Like they had their own issues and they brought it into the relationship. And I thank God there wasn't cell phones at the time when I was a teenager. Because there's some stupid stuff I did. Nothing excessive, but
no. I think that's the thing we've noticed with our kids. They document everything on the phone.
Yeah.
And when we got together in the 90s, cell phones didn't exist.
Thank God.
And even into the 2000s, the early 2000s, I don't think cell phones had cameras until like 2008.
Yeah.
So that chunk of time, we had to have a camera, we had to have a video camera.
We had big ass ones.
You had to have all this technology just to connect to other people. Now it's all in the palm of your hand.
Yeah.
So it was easier to disengage and move away in the 90s and 2000s because there wasn't the technology to connect us the way it is today.
Yeah.
I think it allowed us to really...
Well, it gave us time to be individuals.
Develop into ourselves.
Yeah, so I don't necessarily feel bad for you guys, for those of people who are younger than me, but that might be something to consider that you need to, from my perspective, you might want to put the phone down.
Phone doesn't have to be everything in your life.
That, and you don't need to document everything. Like some of my coworkers who are younger, they document everything. And like, I tell them, don't document everything. Maybe just live through the event or the place or the time and just enjoy it instead of documenting it. There's no reason to.
That's like going to a rock concert and all you do is stare at your phone to record it.
Yeah, what's the point?
Like everybody went to see Taylor Swift at her Eras tour, and they were airing it on TikTok as they're there. Do you know if I'd have paid like $8,000 for a ticket, the last thing I'd do is stick my phone in my nose?
Yeah. Well,
I would want to enjoy it.
Well, it's the same thing when we went. The youngest and I went to Weird Al. There was people all around us that had they were videoing. I'm like, I remember going to concerts and just enjoying the music.
Yeah.
Or the entertainment. So, yeah,
it's different now.
Yeah, it is different now.
People are so. I think this is the crux of a lot of stuff. People are so connected, but they're disconnected because it's not. May I have your hand? It's not this connection.
Mm-hmm.
This is vital to humanity. But if you have this and you think you're connected through this piece of electronic,
it's like something someone mentioned the other day. It was like TVs, phones, and all that stuff. Watching videos is a passive. It's passive and a passive action.
yeah,
Where if you're actually holding hands, that's active because
yeah,
you're feeling the person's skin and whatever.
yeah, you're communicating.
Yeah.
You do.
Uh-oh. Here
comes Harlow.
Here comes Harlow. So we're gonna stop this video right here. I'm Joe.
I'm M.
This is Still Saying Yes to Us.
Yeah.
Leave us a comment down below, like a question, and we'll try to answer it as best we can. We're not doctors, so this is just our experience. What we live through won't necessarily work for you, but so leave us a like, subscribe, and thanks for watching. Have a great day.
Day.